Pre-spawn. This is my favorite time to throw big baits because that is obviously when most of the big fish in a lake are the shallowest and the most susceptible to being caught. So we'll get into, obviously pre-spawn, those fish are getting up there shallow, they're feeding, they're in the bushes, they're under boat docks, they're setting up on rocky points, they're setting in those transition spots from winter pattern to go get on a bed, and you can really target them on specific types of structure. And the specific types of structure I'm talking about are, if you've got a dock that sits on a nice transition bank, on a rocky bank before it flattens out and gets to bushes and stuff in the back of a pocket where they're going to spawn, that dock's going to be a key piece of structure for those big female fish to set up on before they go back and spawn. That's their stopping point. That's where they're going to stop. They're going to set up, and you can have multiple fish there. I've seen times in a pre-spawn where I fire a big glide bait past the dock and you have 3 or 4 6 to 8 pounders come out following that bait. So there could be a group of fish sitting there this time of year. And that is prime time for getting bit on a big bait, because when you create competition, they don't want the other guy to have it. That bass wants it. So you can create that competition amongst them and actually get them to commit a lot better under conditions when they normally wouldn't bite. So going through the when, where, and why first. So rocky points are great places, and I'm not talking about flat rocky points that are typical post-spawn type deals and stuff like that. I don't want something that's going to run way out in the lake and have a big area to fish. So if you can picture the couple different kinds of points. You've got your long, flat, tapering points where I may have, 50 feet of point that runs out, and at 50 feet off the bank is 5 feet deep. That's not what I'm looking for, because that doesn't give the fish an exact place to ambush. Those big pre-spawn fish, they've got to roam that whole point, so they're not going to be set up there. There's definitely going to be fish there. I'm not saying there's not going to be fish there, but typically your true giants that are going to bite these big baits aren't going to use a piece of structure, a point like that, as well as they will a more 45-degree point or a steeper point where they can really set up there and suspend next to that structure, and they've just got a small zone that is their bite window. So I can make a more accurate cast with that big bait and get that fish to commit a lot better than I can throwing a big bait up on a point. So case in point, if you're talking about a long flat point, I throw this big glide bait all the way to the bank, and I'm setting 60 or 70 feet off the bank in 6 or 7 feet of water, and my bait lands up here in 2 feet of water. The fish may be setting out here in 4 feet. So he sees this bait coming all the way to him, and he's got a long time to decide whether or not, is that real? Why is this big shad swimming straight at me? And that's going to send up red flags to those big fish. And you don't have that element of surprise, and that's something you have when you target a smaller piece of structure like those 45-degree points where you've got nice rocky outcroppings and got 3 or 4 or 5 feet of water right next to the bank on those points, because those fish can set right up against the bank, and you can bring that bait right by their face without them seeing it from a long ways off. And that little element of surprise will, a lot of times that will help you get that big fish to commit to a big bait, whereas other situations, when they have to follow it and track it, they won't really fully commit to it a lot of times.
And the information Bass University provides isn't your basic run-of-the-mill fishing video. This is specific information from A to Z to help you learn, get to the water, and become a better angler quickly.